Alrighty, we should be live. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We are 30 minutes away from the start of the sprint race, and we have got all of the drivers now making their way out of the pit lane. The pit lane exit has just opened, and they'll be making their way to the grid now. Guan Yu Zhou, Nico Hulkenberg, and we've got Norris, Sainz, Gasly, all of them making their way out as well. They'll be driving around to the grid box, doing all of their installation checks, making sure everything's working as expected, and then yeah, we'll be getting ready to go racing. All right, hello from Perth, Western Australia. Hello. I'm sure the time probably isn't ideal, a little bit late in Australia right now, but glad that you're here for the sprint race. We're gonna have 19 laps of racing, and yeah, is it true that Perez and Franco start from the pit lane? I shall find that one out, but I'm pretty sure they don't. Yeah. Right. Do you have F1 working experience? No. Right, let's check if Franco and Perez are starting from the pits. I'm pretty sure they're not. No, they're just going to be starting in their normal positions. No pit lane starts for those guys. New mic? No, it is the exact same mic. I just added a little bit of a what's it called? I forgot what it's called now. A windsock. I've added a windsock to sort of just prevent me peaking the mic. Like if I go like those kind of sound, the P sounds and B sounds tend to be a little bit louder in the mic than normal, and if you add a windsock, it kind of just reduces the noise of those. So I think that's why the mic sounds ever so slightly different to yesterday. Right. Oh, Perez is starting from the pits. Right. Let me double check that information then, because this information was from 19 hours ago. So maybe there's something a little bit more recent that will say otherwise. Oh, are they both starting from the pits? Right. Well, apologies for that. So Yuki Tsunoda has been reprimanded for exceeding the time limit between safety car lines. So has Sergio Perez. And yeah, Sergio Perez and Franco Colapinto will both be starting from the pit lane. Yeah. All right. If we look at the pole to conversion win ratio for 2024, we have got Lando Norris with 7 pole positions and 2 wins. So that's a 28.6% chance of converting poles. Both Russell and Leclerc have got 3 poles and 1 win. Verstappen has got 8 pole positions and 5 wins, and Carlos Sainz right at the top, 1 pole position and 1 win directly. Yeah. Very, very nice for those drivers. But we shall see if Lando Norris will be able to convert this sprint pole position into a sprint race win, or will George Russell send an overtake down the inside. So that's the options. Well, not the options, but those are the possibilities. What could happen? We could have Piastri overtake the both of them, like we saw last weekend by Leclerc, I think. While the car's driving, the drivers are making their way from the pit lane to the starting grid. So they have 1 lap or 2 laps to do some installation laps and just check all of the systems are working. You know, the battery, the engine, the gearbox. Check everything's working as expected, and then they park their car on the grid ready to go racing. Yeah. All right. What time is the race quali for tomorrow? Well, it'll obviously be different. It'll be a different time depending on where you are in the world. However, the qualifying will be in 4 hours' time, depending on where. 4 hours and 25 minutes. So wherever you are, if you're 4 hours and 25 minutes into the future, that is when the start of the actual qualifying for the actual race will be. What is the idea behind having a sprint race? It's not behind increasing profit per se. It's about the idea is essentially in a normal race weekend, there are only 2 sessions that people actually want to see. So the fans that come to the track, the most important sessions are qualifying in the race, and that's the ones people want to watch. There are practice sessions, of course, but it's just not the same. Yeah, when you think about going to watch the Formula One, you think about watching the race, not a practice session. So just as a way to increase the availability of tickets and increase the availability of people being able to watch a race. There is sprint qualifying, which obviously people can watch, and then there is the sprint race as well. So you can have, say at Qatar, I think there's a weekend attendance of 400,000 people, and if there was a sprint weekend, you can increase that even further because you have a lot of people just come for the sprint and don't watch the full race, because the tickets are cheaper or for whatever reason. So. Yeah, that's kind of the reasoning behind having a sprint race, but essentially, yes, it does help the profit margins of the circuits, because the thing is, it doesn't really help the profit margins of Formula One because the circuits, so say, for example, Qatar, the Qatar Grand Prix circuit, that whoever owns it will be paying Formula One, so Formula One will race here. Now, if they hold a sprint race at Qatar, they make back a little bit more of that money, so it's not really Formula One that's making the profit, it's more the racetrack. But yeah, nonetheless, it is a money-oriented decision. All right. Yeah, F1 Game is Abu Dhabi next week. Indeed, it is. I thought it started 30 minutes ago. Yes. In fact, I had my thing go off on my calendar as well, saying that the sprint race was going to start half an hour ago, but. No, that for some reason they changed the times of the sprint race. I'm not exactly sure why, but they moved the sprint race and qualifying today 1 hour forward, and they've moved the race yesterday 1 hour backwards. So yeah, if you set your calendar according to according to what was released at the start of the year, then it would be incorrect and it wouldn't line up. Yeah. Why is Perez starting in the pits? Probably because he's going to have some setup changes. I don't think he'll have a new engine, but I think it'll just be setup changes to make the car a little bit more drivable for him. Okay. What do you think of Colapinto? Colapinto's done a pretty good job considering that he's only had half a season in Formula One, but when he joined Williams, it was very critical that he didn't crash the car. I think he knew the reason that Sargent got fired wasn't just the fact that he was slow. It was because he was slow and he was consistently crashing the car. So Colapinto's job was to do neither of those things. He's done one of them successfully. He's fairly quick. However, the no crashing aspect of joining Williams that has not come through, and Colapinto has ended up making having a few major crashes here and there, and because of that, what was I going to say? Yeah, well, Williams are really now struggling. They've said they've had to cut into their 2025 budget to be able to pay for the parts and the repairs that have occurred over the course of this season. So Williams, they are already, pretty tight on cash most of the time, but now they've had to remove money from their budget for 2025 and allocate that to repairing the car for this year, which is a very big blow for Williams, because in 2025 most of your development work isn't on the 2025 cars; it is all on the 2026 cars. Most, if not all, works basically stops like at least 1/3 of the way through the season. The majority of work has switched over to 2026. If you're in a very close championship battle, there's always the chance that you keep bringing upgrades. So as we saw in 2021, where the 2022 regs were like the most critical thing to focus on. However, the upgrades that you were making in 2021 were going to, for Red Bull and for Mercedes, that basically defined the championship. You either win the championship or you don't, if you can bring 1 or 2 extra upgrades compared to the other team. So essentially, next year, what we might see happening is that if there are 2-3 teams locked in battle for the Constructors and the Drivers' Championship, Then one team, 2/3 of the way through the season, 1/3 of the way through the season, may totally stop developing the car and switch all focus to 2026. They may sacrifice the season of 2025 and focus on 2026, or we may see some teams do the opposite and work and continue upgrades on their 2025 car all the way to the very end of the season so they can win the championship, but then that'll put them on the back foot for 2026. So yeah, it's an interesting conundrum that the drivers, the teams and the engineers and the team principals mainly, will have to figure out and decide when they divert resources from 2025 car to 2026. But yeah, Williams, they're already running out of money, and they're running out of money for next year. And yeah, we haven't even finished this year, so not ideal there for the Williams team. And they said the team really isn't prepared. I think James Vowles came out and said a team isn't prepared for 6 major crashes in a season, because 6 major crashes is essentially rebuilding the car 6 times. You may have the exact same base chassis, but rebuilding all the suspension arms, all of the geometry for the floor, all of the side pods, all of the rear wings, the front wings. It is a huge, laborious task. Okay, they're cutting the budget for 2025. Well, I don't think Sainz's salary will be fixed. They can't cut that. But I think what they mean by cutting the budget for 2025 is, for example, if they were going to hire anyone in 2025, they may have to, if they were planning on hiring someone, they may have to stop planning. They'll have to cancel that hire, because, well, they're not going to have any money to pay them. All right. Okay, we talking about Lewis's comment saying that Red Bull will be hard to catch next year since they probably switched development and. No, well, I mean, I guess it also links into that comment from Lewis, but yeah, all right. F1 game, a big fan for a long time. Always wondered what your day job is. I don't have a day job. I'm a student, so yeah, studying engineering. Maybe hope to work in Formula One someday. We'll see what happens. Has Lawson done enough to keep his seat out? I think for certain. He's not been too far off Tsunoda. In fact, look at this qualifying. Tsunoda in 16th, Lawson in 10th. So, yeah, Lawson has definitely proven his worth in Formula One. And he's competed with Tsunoda. Obviously, he's not been as consistent or as quick as Tsunoda every single time. But it's been better than Ricciardo and a lot closer than most of the drivers could be. So I think Lawson will retain his seat for 2025. There's still there is a little bit up in the air. Is it going to be Sergio Perez still driving 2025? Are you going to put Yuki Tsunoda in the car? Are you going to call Valtteri Bottas to drive alongside Max Verstappen? I don't know. I don't know what will happen, but yeah, it's always a little bit uncertain with Red Bull. You never know, because we know Red Bull is probably one of the only teams that will do a mid-season firing, and they do it very often. Like Williams, unfortunately, they had to fire Logan Sargent just because of the excessive amount of crashes that he was doing. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah, but Red Bull, even if there aren't just crashes, if it's just a lack of pace, there are always rumors that maybe you're just going to leave the team by the end in 2 races time, 3 races time. So we'll wait and see. Remember us little people when you were the team boss at Williams? I don't know if I'd be the team boss at Williams, but we shall, It would be pretty cool to be team boss at Williams. However, I'm sure it'll be a lot of stress. And have you read Adrian Newey's book on how to build a car? It's brilliant. Indeed, it is. I have read it. Yeah, I would recommend it, guys. If you haven't read Adrian Newey's book on how to build a car, it's not exactly a detailed guide on what you should do and which what type of screws you should use, etc., etc. It's more sort of an autobiography, but very focused around Formula One and how he learned all of his engineering skills. So yeah, no, I think it's fantastic, and I would definitely recommend it. Also, the Netflix Senna show came out yesterday. I don't know if any of you have watched it, but if you have, then what are your thoughts on it? Is it worth watching? I think I definitely will watch it. Just haven't got the time right now. All right. Perez and Colapinto are both in the pits because they're starting from the pit lane. They're starting from the pits because of they're just changing setups and changing parts, I think. Yeah, what's worth being a Williams mechanic or being a Lance Stroll mechanic? I think definitely Williams. Williams crash a lot more than Lance Stroll does. I mean, Stroll, does stupid stuff, but I'd say, stopping the car in a gravel trap and getting stuck is probably less work for a mechanic than totally having to rebuild a car. I have, yes, I love it. Well, maybe it'll be time to watch the Ayrton Senna show. Yeah. Baseball God, I just wanted to say nice job throughout the season with these streams. I can't watch the races, sprints, or practice. This helped me so much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Baseball God. Very much appreciate the nice comment. Yeah, glad you enjoy the coverage, and I'm guessing the other 2,000 of you watching, 2,300 of you watching are enjoying as well. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and be sure to hit that subscribe button. Hopefully we can hit 120k by the end of the season. Or by the end of this weekend, sorry. Yeah. Thoughts on Verstappen? Well, I think Verstappen, what can I say? Verstappen has got a fantastic record in sprint races. I think he's scored points in every single sprint race that has happened in Formula 1 history. I mean, that being said, there aren't that many sprint races that have happened, but regardless, Verstappen has scored points in every single one of them. And I think that it should be pretty good. I don't know what we'll see from him today. I think Ferraris tend to have slightly better race pace than they do qualifying pace, so I think it might be hard for Verstappen to get overtakes done on the Ferraris. It's going to be the sprint race. We're only going to have 19 laps of racing rather than around, I think we have 57 laps of racing around Qatar normally, or 58, but yeah, only 19 laps of racing for the sprint race. And yeah. What else was I going to say? The formula is also a great read. That's how I find out about Netflix on series on Formula 1. Okay. The formula, I shall have a look at it. Can Hamilton improve to a podium? Well, thank you for asking that question about 4 times, but yeah, Hamilton could improve to a podium. However, after his comments yesterday in the press conference, he doesn't seem all that confident. I think he said, "Oh, the car's so fast, but I'm just so slow," and yeah, I don't know what's going on there down for Lewis Hamilton, because he he's a 7-time world champion. He's a very quick driver, but in the past, he had a good race in Las Vegas. He had a string of bad form, a good race in Las Vegas, and maybe that was going to be the turning point. But he got to qualifying yesterday, and Russell was in 7th. The second place, Hamilton was in 7th. There was around a 3-4 tenth gap between the two drivers. So yeah, I don't know what's going on there for Lewis Hamilton, and he's really going to have to knuckle down over the winter break, and then hopefully he can not get totally destroyed by Charles Leclerc, because by the looks of it, for the second half of the season, Russell has been outperforming Hamilton fairly consistently, and I don't think Hamilton Hamilton obviously isn't particularly liking that, and he'll try to correct it once he gets into Ferrari. Right. What is your day job? Oh, that's interesting. 2 people already have asked what my day job is. But yeah, no, I'm a student. Maybe working, doing engineering. Maybe working in a Formula 1 team soon. I have to, got to do the applications and stuff, and then get through the whole process. But we shall see. Do you think Sky F1 should have Bernie fired as a pundit every race? I think her. Oh, a fixed pundit, not fired pundit. As a fixed pundit every race, I think Tech Chat is excellent. Yeah, I think it's fantastic, really. Having insight from a strategist in Formula 1 is something that is very, very rare. And having that insight is fantastic, really. So, yes, they should keep Bernie Collins on the coverage more often. Alright, we are 9 minutes away from the sprint race. Folks, do let me know what your predictions are. Who do you think will be getting the race win? Will Lando Norris lose the lead going into turn number 1? Will Russell take the lead? It's very similar to what we had in Brazil in the sprint race. Norris starting first, Russell starting second, and Russell was like, "Thank you very much, I'll take that first place off your hands." Opinions on the 11th Formula One team. I think the 11th Formula One team is fantastic. More cars on the grid is going to be much more action, much more fun, and I cannot wait. One little problem for me is that I don't know how I'm going to fit all 22 drivers worth of data onto the screen, but that is a problem for 2026, so I'm sure I'll figure that out soon enough. I think I'll wait for you getting into the paddock. Yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I either get into a Formula One team or get a call from Sky Sports. We'll see. I mean, it's probably not the best idea to, I've previously said on other live streams that I'm Sky Sports #1 hater. So probably not the best way to get a job at Sky Sports by saying that, but we shall see. From an engineering standpoint, would you rather have your driver on dries in a wet track or wets on a dry track? I think from an engineering standpoint, you would say wets on a dry track because you know that they wouldn't crash. But yeah, it would be interesting to see dries on a wet track, but you aquaplane and that's the end of it really. So there's not that much interesting stuff. No, F1 Gamer, do you remember which race you got 100k subs? Oh yeah, I'm going to remember that for a long time. It was the Azerbaijan Grand Prix this season. He'll become the new voice of F1 Gamer channel when you start working for Prima and Mercedes after. I think I'll continue doing my live streams, honestly. As long as I'm not working on the race team itself, I still will have my weekends free, and I can still do commentary. I don't know if, say if I was working at McLaren or Mercedes, I don't know how kindly they would take to me, commentating and saying good or bad things about McLaren and Mercedes or whichever team I'm working for, and potentially leaking some inside information. But, oh well, that's a problem for later on. Right. Did you see the Formula 2 quali? No, unfortunately I didn't. I wasn't sticking around. I was too busy. What was I doing? I was too busy washing the dishes, and putting on and drying my clothes. I forgot the fact that Formula 2 was on. A 13 place grid difference between the drivers, between the Red Bull drivers. Yes, it is absolutely huge down at Red Bull, but we shall see what happens. Also, if we have a little bit of a look at the analysis from the long runs in FP in the race in FP1 when the teams did the race simulations, Ferrari looked to be the fastest team on paper compared to McLaren, and then Red Bull were third fastest, and then it was Mercedes even behind them. So I think that while McLaren do have the edge in the qualifying conditions, I think in the race Ferrari should have better tire wear and things like that. So definitely for tomorrow's race, it might be a two-stop strategy, which will put Ferrari ahead if they have better tyre wear. But if it's one stop, then it'll be very, very equal between the two teams. And we'll see if in this first stint, because I don't think they're going to do any pit stops, it's just going to be, I think, probably medium tyres to right to the very end. We'll see if Sainz and Leclerc can overtake Norris or Piastri or Russell. Do you like F1 esports? I mean, I don't particularly watch F1 esports. I think the F1 games are the F1 games were good before EA bought them, or EA became the publisher of them or whatever. So I guess it's alright. It's just not for me, really. Alright. Oh, also in other news, Paul Aaron has been signed as Alpine's reserve driver for next year. So next year they're going to have a rookie as a they're going to have a rookie as their number 2 driver. They're going to have Kevin. Wait, no, who's staying at Alpine? Oh, Gasly's staying at Alpine, apologies. Yeah, so they're going to have Gasly, and then they're going to have Jack Doohan, and then as their reserve driver, they're going to have another rookie, which is a little bit of a bold choice, but I think that the reserve driver is mainly just a test driver role while they'll work on the weekends alongside the team trying to get the best setup, rather than, stepping in for another driver. I think if someone else had to step in, maybe they'll get on the phone to someone else, or maybe they'll give the rookie a shot. Why not? F1 Manager is great as it appeals to the male fans who are firing Stroll in the first 30 seconds of gameplay. Yeah, the F1 Manager game I think was pretty good. At least it was a pretty good idea. I don't know how well it was implemented because I have Motorsport Manager on Steam. So Motorsport Manager, F1 Manager, fairly similar concepts, fairly similar ideas. Of course, F1 Manager is a lot more specific to the Formula 1 world rather than just motorsport in general. But I think it's definitely a good idea. Both Sainz and Leclerc complained about understeer. Did they have to change the setup to fix it? Oh, to fix understeer, you just have to put a little bit more front wing angle. So Sainz and Leclerc that'll be easy to fix, and they will have changed that if that was an issue. And then they should be fine for the race. Right. Here we go then. 3 minutes away from the start of the session. What has happened here? An incident involving Guan Yu Zhou will be investigated after the sprint, failing to follow a race director's instructions, maximum delta time. Oh, okay. No, Guan Yu Zhou, just when he came out of the pit lane, he drove a little bit too slowly on his lap to the grid, and the FIA, for some reason, have a problem with that. All right. F1 Gamer, which team do you support? I don't really support a team. My favourite driver is Seb Vettel, but since he's no longer in Formula 1, I'm not that... I don't support really that much. I just like to see some good racing. And I think good racing is something that we're certainly going to have. Yesterday, if you guys don't remember, if you didn't tune into the qualifying live streams, we at one point had 3 drivers on the exact same lap time. At 2 points in qualifying, we had 2 drivers with the exact same lap time. And essentially what I'm saying is that the competition is very, very tight. And we are going to see some fantastic racing. We could see some squabbling between the Ferrari duo. Of course, last weekend we had the big whole team orders and let me buy and don't let me buy and tell him in Spanish and whatever, which was quite funny. But, yeah. All right, it looks like... we're going to have the tyre information coming through in a second as well. Yeah, everyone is on... All right, everyone's on medium tyres apart from Guan Yu Zhou, who is on the softs. All right, well, that's the information that's come through on the radio. I'm sure shortly it'll come through on the screen as well. But now we are 1 minute and 30 seconds away from the start of the sprint race. So folks, if you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. If you haven't subscribed, be sure to do that as well. If you have the like button especially, it just tells YouTube that we've got a fantastic live stream and we get more and more people tuning in. And yeah, we've got a wind speed of 15 kilometers per hour, so it is rather quite windy here in Qatar, and the crosswinds are going to be a little bit of a pain for the drivers to deal with, but there's nothing that they haven't seen before. And let's wait and let's get ready to go racing then. Alright folks, I'm just going to refresh the data. The screen's going to go black for a couple of seconds. And then we should be back. It's going to just go black there. All right, there we go. Right. Very nice. Let me just move my mouse off the screen. Right. So let's take you through the starting grid. We'll have Sergio Perez and Franco Colapinto starting from the pit lane after they have had some setup changes. Then we have Guan Yu Zhou in 18th position, starting on the soft tyres. Esteban Ocon in 17th position. He'll be looking to make up some places after his teammate is up in 8th place. Huge gap in performance between the two Alpine drivers. Gasly's on a fantastic run of form. Esteban Ocon not so much. Yuki Tsunoda in 16th place. He's also got places to make up with his teammate 6th positions higher than him. K-Mag is in 15th with Nico Hulkenberg in 9th. He's also got 6 places to his teammate. We'll see what happens there. Lance Stroll in 14th place. He's got a weekend to forget, really, from Brazil. Well, yeah, he forgot it in Brazil, forgot how to drive and drove straight into the gravel trap. Had a fairly decent race in Las Vegas. We'll see if he can continue improving. Today, Valtteri Bottas with a great qualifying, getting the Sauber into Q2. And we've got Alex Albon in 12th place, Fernando Alonso in 11th. And folks, we are just getting underway for the formation lap here. So the sprint race timer has gone to 0. Let me just set that to 0. And there we go. The drivers are underway for the formation lap. I don't know why the tyre information has not come through yet, but I'm sure it will do shortly. And all right, what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, just moving up through the grid, we have got Liam Lawson making it through into Q3. Fantastic job from him. And then we have Nico Hulkenberg in 9th. Another Haas car making it. Another time we see Hulkenberg appearing in Q3. Fantastic qualifying from him as always. Gasly's had a great run of form. He's up into 8th place. Hamilton missing out. The car was quick yesterday, but he just wasn't able to extract the performance. In 7th place for Lewis Hamilton. 6th place for Max Verstappen after the Red Bull not being the fastest car this weekend. The 2 Ferraris in 4th and 5th, both complaining about understeer, but they should crank up the front wing angle and they should be good to go for some racing. And then Oscar Piastri in 3rd place, Russell in 2nd place, splitting the 2 McLarens, and Lando Norris in pole position for the sprint race. All right, so this is it, the formation lap. The constructor standings, 584 points for Ferrari, 608 points for McLaren. 24 points is the points difference between the two teams. We'll see if Ferrari can win this Constructors' Championship. It's going to be an uphill battle, and they're going to have to overtake both McLarens if they're going to score enough points. But let's wait and see. All of the drivers now getting their burnouts ready. They're doing their burnouts, so getting those brake temperatures up. I still don't know why the tyre information's just come through for Russell and not a single other driver, but everyone else, I assure you, is on medium tyres. Only Guan Yu Zhou is on a set of softs, and this is it then. Track temperature 25 degrees, air temperature 21 degrees, 19 laps of racing is about to get underway. Lando Norris, the first driver to line up on his grid position. Perez and Colapinto starting from the pits after making some setup changes, and they've just got a couple more things to improve. Well, they had a couple of things to change on their car to make sure that they'll actually be quick this weekend. So they make the changes, and we'll see what they can do. All right, here we go then. Folks, let me know what you think is going to happen. Who is going to get that pole position? Who's going to get the race win? Sorry. And there we go. We've got Verstappen now parked up in his grid slot. The first 6, 7, 8 drivers now all lined up and ready to go racing. And we'll have the final driver of Guan Yu Zhou approaching the grid shortly. Okay. The last car is approaching the back of the grid. And we've got 19 laps of this Qatar Grand Prix circuit, some fantastic racing up ahead of us now, and the drivers are so close together in performance. This is going to be one heck of a Grand Prix. The last car approaches the grid, the medical car lines up. We have got 20,000 horsepower revving away at 17,000 RPM. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights, and it's lights out, and away we go. Lando Norris gets a great start. He goes to cover off George Russell into turn number 1. Russell tries to maintain his lead over Piastri. Someone's down the inside. Who's that? Lewis Hamilton sends one down the inside, not able to get any traction there, and Piastri's up into second. It's a McLaren 1-2. There's someone off in the gravel at the back, and wow, great start there from Piastri. Russell sends one to the inside at turn number 4, but still not enough to get ahead of Oscar Piastri. Great start from the McLarens. 1-2 for the McLarens, and Hamilton's ahead of Leclerc. Fantastic start there from Hamilton, up 2 places. Leclerc's down 1, and Russell is also down 1. Right, Hamilton has really switched on his tyres here, and he's getting a move on. He's going to be pushing Carlos Sainz very, very soon as well. Wow, we've got 10,000 people tuned in. Thank you everyone for tuning in. By the way, here we go. We've finally got the tyre information showing through. Everyone has got medium tyres apart from Joe, who's on softs, and I don't know why it's not saying the tyres that Valtteri Bottas is using because, well, oh well. The tyre strategy, everyone is going to be on medium tyres for the entire duration of this race. No one's going to come into the pits. It would make no sense to come into the pits on a sprint race. But they make their way through. The first lap is complete, and the drivers, Piastri has not got DRS on his teammate. Russell is within DRS range. Now, is McLaren going to say to Norris, slow down a little bit, give your teammate some DRS, otherwise we're going to lose the 1-2? Well, let's keep an eye out on the radio. DRS has been enabled for the next time. This circuit has only got one DRS zone, but we should remember that. There's only one DRS zone. It's coming down the main straight here. Everywhere else on the circuit, no other DRS zones. Only Monaco and Suzuka are the other racetracks that have one DRS zone. So, yeah, overtaking as well. It's the only opportunity you've got to start your overtake is going into turn number 1. You can probably continue fighting turn number 2, 3, 4, 5, but yeah, you've got your only opportunity to make a potential overtake is turn 1. And look at that gap at the front, 1.2 seconds between Piastri and Norris. I don't think Norris is slowing down for his teammate. And we shall see. Oh, Imola as well. Okay, Imola also does fantastic. So there we go. DRS has been enabled. The detection point is coming up shortly, and George Russell is firmly within the DRS of Oscar Piastri, and Oscar Piastri is not within the DRS of his teammate. He's not even within the slipstream of his teammate. The gap is getting bigger and bigger. Here they come. Out of the final corner they go, and Lando Norris leads the way with Oscar Piastri in second place. George Russell, though, he is gaining. He's tucked into the slipstream. The DRS is 100 meters longer than it was last year, and he's gaining in the top speed, approaching 330 kilometers an hour, and he looks to the inside there, but Piastri covers him off nicely enough, and he's gonna fend off that battle, at least for lap number 3. We've still got 17 laps of racing left to go. The drivers already, if you look at the team radios there, the drivers are already worrying about tyre wear. There's getting too much sliding of the car at turn number 13 and turn number 14, and they've got to be careful, because if you overheat your tyres here, it is a huge pain to cool them back down. You lose so much lap time, because every single corner here is fairly high speed, and you need to lean on your tires. You need to overheat them a little bit as you go through the high speed. If you're trying to cool them down, you have to essentially drive so much slower. You lose huge amounts of lap time. Alright then, so after the first couple of laps, we've got our biggest gainers as Kevin Magnussen started the race in 15th position, up into 4th place for him. We got Liam Lawson, who started in 10th. He went down into 7th. A terrible start there for Liam Lawson, and he's now right next to his teammate. I don't know what's gone on there for Liam Lawson's race start. We'll get a replay soon enough, but yeah, very slow getaway there for Liam Lawson. And Russell is gaining. He looks to the inside there, sends one down the inside. So many sparks are flying there side by side through turn number 2. And Piastri just holds on. He just sweeps across the road there, chopping George Russell off. And there's nothing George Russell can do. Fantastic driving though. And I have a feeling on the next lap, the fighting is going to get even closer. Alright, Russell's just come over the radio, said he's just turned into me, and, I would say Piastri didn't turn into him, Piastri just chopped across him. I would say it was a little bit aggressive, but, it's fair racing as well. He didn't crash into him, and he wasn't going to crash into him regardless. Lawson taking the Daniel Ricciardo racing line to finish behind P16. Yeah, I don't know what Lawson's done. We've got a fastest first sector from Hamilton. He is still pushing that Mercedes very hard. And he's split the two Ferraris, so we shall see if he can make some more progress and overtake the driver that he is replacing next year. And here they come now, out of the penultimate corner. What's it going to be? Look at that gap between George Russell and Oscar Piastri. It's 0.3 of a second, but look at that. Lando Norris, has he slowed down on purpose? Because Piastri has now got DRS off Lando Norris, which means that Russell is not going to gain enough. And in fact, Piastri, is he sending one down the inside of Lando Norris here into turn 1? Oh, it got very, very close. We've got 3 drivers within the gap of half a second. Carlos Sainz has caught up to the action as well. The top 4 within 1 second, and oh wow, boy oh boy, this is going to be some fantastic racing. Verstappen is what was I going to say about Verstappen? Verstappen drops down into 9th place. He started the race in 6th, down into 9th. He's having quite a bit of, he's having understeer and oversteer issues basically at the same time. Is not ideal there for Max Verstappen. And well, they're going to have to make some setup tweaks after the sprint race if they're going to do well in the actual race. We've got K-Mag in 10th position, and he's set a fastest first sector. I don't know how. He must have got a tow, but he's currently looking to potentially overtake Max Verstappen. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But look at that. The top 4 now, or the top 5, all within 1 second of each other. And Lando Norris is holding on for dear life here. The DRS zones on this circuit, there's only one DRS zone, and it's coming down the main straight now. Lando Norris comes across the start-finish line. Piastri activates the DRS, and they are all gaining on the lead driver here. But the thing is now, they're all sat in a big DRS train. Piastri is just going to be able to hold on to this second place because Russell isn't able to gain on him. I don't know if McLaren said it over the radio to Norris that should slow down, or maybe Norris is just thinking in the exact same way that Carlos Sainz was thinking in Singapore last year. But regardless, some fantastic quick thinking from Lando Norris, and that might be the very reason that you can hold on to this first place, because I think Russell is the quicker driver in terms of, not the quicker, he's got quicker pace. Russell in the Mercedes is quicker than Lando Norris in the McLaren for this weekend, or at least for this sprint race, and Norris is doing a good defensive job there by helping his teammate out, giving him some DRS. In fact, the DRS has just been broken. Gap up to over 1 second. We'll keep an eye out and see what Norris is doing. They told Norris to give DRS. Okay, well, fair enough. I'm sure Norris could have figured that out himself, but I guess if they told him, then it makes it easier. And here they go then. Is it going to be, are we going to get a DRS train of the top 6 drivers, or is it going to be the top 5? I don't know. It's been a long time since we've had a DRS train of the top 5 drivers. Normally it splits up pretty quickly. But Charles Leclerc with the fastest lap of the race there, or 125.5. He goes 0.2 quicker than Norris right at the top of the pack. So Charles Leclerc is approaching, and in fact, instead of a DRS train of 5 drivers, we're going to have a DRS train of 6 soon enough. All right. Perez in 20th, not even surprised. Oh my god, yeah, I didn't even notice. Sergio Perez is in 20th position. I don't know how he's done that, because he started the race from the pit lane. He started ahead of Colapinto, and then has lost the position to Colapinto, and is now in 20th place. What is going on for Sergio Perez, man? It makes no sense. How has he still got a seat at Red Bull? Red Bull are the number 1 team to kick someone out if they're too slow. But somehow Sergio Perez is still there. It makes no sense. But anyway, here we are, lap number 7 of 19, and we have got, we've got the top 6 converging right onto each other. But Lando Norris doing a fine job of just maintaining that gap. A slight mistake at any point from Lando Norris will mean Piastri will catch up. And there is no reason why Piastri is going to, give the position up to Norris or slow down for him. Piastri is just going to attack. So, here they go into turn number 1. Does Piastri look to the inside? He gets extremely close, but he decides against it, and why not? He'll have to wait for a mistake from Norris, otherwise it's going to have to be a very late lunge from Oscar Piastri. Verstappen finally gets an overtake done on Pierre Gasly, who he lost a position to at the start of the race. and he's now up into 8th position, but still lower than where he started. He's got to overtake Hulkenberg and then Leclerc if he wants to get back into 6th position. Perez overtakes Guan Yu Zhou, but I think the only reason he's overtaking Guan Yu Zhou is because the soft tyres were never meant to last 19 laps. They were never meant to last 5 laps, to be honest. And yeah, Zhou's soft tyres are already wearing out, and that explains the lack of pace from him. And that also explains why Sergio Perez overtook him. Yeah. All right. I'm going to have a quick sip of water, otherwise my throat is going to start hurting. But Hamilton there nearly dropped off the back of Sainz. His tyres might be overheating a little bit, because if you're on a train of 5 drivers and you're right at the back, then you're going to have so much hot air from every single car exhaust just building up onto your car. Overheating the engine, overheating the tyres, it's not ideal. And a loss of grip as well. Oh, is Piastri going for a move here? Is Russell going for a move? Into turn number 1 they go. Russell looks to the inside again. But Piastri just, well, swoops around the outside, and there's nothing that Russell can do. Fantastic job there from Oscar Piastri. Oh, fastest lap of the race there from Max Verstappen, a 1:25.2. Very nicely done. But yeah, he's got to catch up to Hulkenberg, and then he's got to catch up to Leclerc. He is still going to continue his streak of scoring points in every single sprint race. But yeah, not ideal there for Max. Is it going to be a McLaren 1-2? Well, we'll see. There's still potential for either Piastri or Norris to make a mistake, and then it's very easily you very easily lose that 1-2. But if they do get a 1-2 and Ferrari end up in 4th and 6th position, that's basically going to seal the deal for the constructors. And yeah. There's still obviously a chance, a theoretical chance that Ferrari come 1-2 in the race this weekend and next weekend, and McLaren don't score any points and then they win, obviously. But yeah. All right, fastest lap of the race from Charles Leclerc now, and Leclerc onto the back of Hamilton. Hamilton has dropped off the back of Carlos Sainz. I think fair enough. With four cars worth of dirty air ahead of you, you're going to get so much sliding for your tyres. It's not even funny. And so much sliding means so much overheating, and then after a certain point you just have to back off. Alright, we're on lap number 10 of 19. We've got 10 laps remaining. Hamilton fastest in the first sector. He's cooled down his tyres a little bit. I think he started to attack again to get onto the back of Carlos Sainz. But managing that gap out the front is Lando Norris. What happened to Zhou? I don't know what actually happened at the start of the sprint race. I think Sergio Perez wasn't paying attention or something, because the light at the end of the pit lane was green. Colapinto overtook him as they were exiting the pit lane, because Perez just wasn't paying attention to the green light at the end. Like, I don't know if his team forgot to tell him that the race is about to start, because obviously from the pit lane, Perez can't see if the race has begun or not. So the engineers should be over the radio saying, look at the pit lane lights, check if it's turned green or not. But I don't think Perez was paying attention, and Colapinto overtook him going into turn number 1 as they exited the pit lane. Very, very interesting. I mean, it just gets worse and worse for Sergio Perez, doesn't it? Right, fastest lap of the race there from Lando Norris. Wow, very nice. And the gap between Piastri and Russell is actually pretty big now. 8 tenths of a second, 9 tenths of a second. So yeah, Russell's got to keep going, but it becomes difficult because he's going to have dirty air, and the closer he gets to Piastri means the more dirty air he has, and then Sainz is going to close up to the back of him as well, because Russell isn't just focusing forward. Sainz with the fastest first sector is closing up quickly, and if Russell tries to make an overtake on Piastri, loses a significant chunk of time, he's probably going to lose a position to Sainz as well. So, do you hold position? Do you risk an overtake, but then you also risk the chance of losing a position? And that's George Russell's decision to make. Guan Yu Zhou comes into the pit lane for a set of medium tyres. It finally makes sense that they did that because the soft tyres were never going to last 19 laps. And let's wait and see. Lando Norris comes across the start-finish line. What's it going to be? Another fastest lap of the race there from Lando Norris. And then we've got Carlos Sainz with the fastest lap of the race. And yeah, let's see. But big old DRS train for now. I don't know if that's going to get broken. Piastri is getting close to his teammate, but that also might be just because Norris has been instructed to keep DRS. All right, but all of the drivers now, they are starting to start conserving their tyres a little bit. Even in a sprint race where you've got 19 laps on one set of tyres, they've just come over the radio to Esteban Ocon to say, time to do some tyre saving at turn number 9. So you back off the throttle a little bit before you turn in. Don't put too much G-force through the tyres and yourself. And, well, hopefully keep the tyres lasting a little bit longer. Right. Yeah. Folks, who would be your driver of the day for today? Honestly, there hasn't been... I would say my driver of the day would be K-Mag. Given the fact that he started in 15th and is up into 10th, I'm going to say that Kevin Magnussen is my driver of the day. I don't think... I haven't actually seen many of his overtakes. I just think he had a fantastic race start. I think that's fair enough. I don't think any of the drivers at the top have done anything particularly exceptional. They've kind of just were in the lead of the race at the start and then have just maintained the lead of the race since the start. So, yeah, but we have Norris with the fastest lap now. It's Russell with the fastest lap who takes that away from Lando Norris. But Leclerc, sends one down the inside of Lewis Hamilton, and they touch wheels. The teammates that are going to be teammates next year. Hamilton sends one down the inside. Leclerc round the outside holds it on, and going into turn number 4, Leclerc still has the inside line. Oh no, Leclerc has the outside line and swoops around the outside again and manages to hold on there. Great driving between the two drivers, but they're going to be teammates next year, so yeah, I don't know what they're doing driving into each other. Yeah. All right. Brilliant racing there from Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. I mean, that goes to show you can have fantastic racing at the circuit because of the corners are so long. You can... going into turn number 1, you can have a battle through turn number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can have a battle through all of them. But the problem is getting side by side. That is the issue. And this year, I think they've reduced the length of the DRS zone, and that's making it a little bit harder for the drivers to get side by side. And Piastri loses DRS on Norris. Norris sets the fastest lap. Piastri makes a little bit of a mistake. And Russell now sends one to the inside. Can he get the move done? Yes, he can, George Russell. But Piastri, oh my God, brakes so late and just holds on to that second place. Like, what a move. Yeah, I mean... I've got to give props to Piastri. Fantastic defensive driving, and he's putting his car in the perfect position, exactly like Fernando Alonso would when he's defending. And Piastri is just doing the same, and he's backing George Russell up, and now Carlos Sainz is closing up to the back of him. Fantastic strategic thinking there from Piastri. And while Russell was too busy attacking him, now Sainz is in his mirrors. Here we go. Oh, Russell complaining over the radio saying Piastri is moving late under braking. Some people are going to call it hard racing. Some people are going to complain. I mean, obviously Russell's going to complain because he's the one that's losing the position there, is missing out. Ooh, the data's just frozen there. It'll be back in about 1 second. Yeah, there we go. All right, everything's fine. Oh yeah, folks, Guan Yu Zhou is totally leading this race. I mean, look at that. He is so far ahead. He's basically, look at the levels of domination from Guan Yu Zhou. He's in a total different league compared to everyone else. He's so far out in front. Right, here they go. Piastri, he sends one to the inside of Norris now. Brilliant driving. And the McLaren drivers are going to start squabbling amongst themselves, and that will be very, very fun to watch, because Norris at the start of the race was instructed to slow down to make sure Piastri could keep DRS, and if Piastri now goes and overtakes him, Norris is not going to be one bit of pleased. And we've got 5 laps left of this race. We're on lap number 15 of 19 with a McLaren 1-2, George Russell in third, and a Ferrari 4-5. Sergio Perez comes into the pits for a new front wing. I don't know how he's damaged his front wing, because he wasn't overtaking anyone, I don't think, because he was he was in 19th position. But for whatever reason, he's got a new front wing. For a Red Bull just doing wind tunnel or a Red Bull just doing testing of new front wings during the race, because Sergio Perez is so slow. Like, oh yeah, we'll just test this new front wing right now because we've got some time and you're not going to score any points anyway. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Sergio Perez, man. And there he is. He's in 19th, but he's in 20th place. No way. That is just not possible. All right. And then up at the front, we've still got the top 4 in the exact same positions that they were a couple of laps ago. Right. Is Papaya Rules back? Yeah, Papaya Rules is back. But of course, when there is a situation where where the team can score more points, then the drivers do have to listen to team orders. So essentially, because McLaren wanted to ensure a 1-2 and not let Russell go and win this race, they said, "Oh, Norris, slow down, so then Piastri can keep DRS, and then Russell can't overtake him." And that was the instruction, essentially. Now, if that instruction continues on when Russell isn't attacking him, I don't really know. And by that I mean, like, is Norris going to retain the lead when Russell isn't an issue? Well, we're still yet to see what will happen there. But yeah, this team orders things get very complicated. When you try to have 2 equal drivers, it just doesn't work, because you can't have 2 drivers finishing in 3rd position or in 2nd position or in 1st. There's going to be always one driver in 1st place, and there's always going to be another driver in 2nd. And and that's where you start to get problems. All right. All right. Yeah, we've got lap number 17 of 19. 3 laps remain of this sprint race, and we have got Lando Norris in the lead by 0.7 of a second to George Russell, and then we've got Sainz. Yeah. Zhou and Perez domination, indeed. I mean, Perez has caught up so quickly to Guan Yu Zhou. He was basically doing qualifying laps for the entire race. He had to catch up to Guan Yu Zhou, and now they're leading the way ahead of Lando Norris and Piastri. Yeah, folks. Honestly, I've got to tell you that the data on the screen is currently lying. Zhou and Perez are in 1st and 2nd. Norris is in 3rd, actually. Real talk. All right, and the gaps between everyone else have all spread out so much, and it's kind of a factor of this circuit. I'm going to be honest here, this circuit is not great. This circuit would be fantastic for MotoGP because you have so many long sweeping corners and no hairpins, but for Formula 1 you need big braking zones where you go from 300 kilometers an hour all the way down to 60, and well, this circuit has none of them, so it becomes very difficult for drivers to overtake. We had one good battle between Leclerc and Hamilton that lasted for a total of 20 seconds, and apart from that, we've just had a nice big DRS drain. Yeah. Is Zhou pulling away from Sergio Perez? Let's answer that question. Sergio Perez's previous lap, a 129.1, and Zhou's previous lap, a 126.1. So I think Perez made a mistake on the previous lap and was 3 seconds back after getting a bit of oversteer. Yeah, why has he come into he came into the pits, but then didn't change his tyres? Yeah, oh my god, I don't know what they did, but they came in for a pit stop, didn't put on a different set of tyres, and then sent him out on the same set, but just changed his front wing. Honestly, the things that are happening at Red Bull make no sense to me. Leclerc with the fastest lap of the race. He's catching up to the back of his teammate, but it's going to be too little, too late for Leclerc on lap number 18 of 19. We'll see what he can do. I think they're testing stuff out for the car. Yeah, probably. It makes sense for them to do that, probably. We've got Nico Hulkenberg in 7th place. He's going to be scoring some points for Haas. 2 points for Haas if he holds on to 7th place. Piastri's got a lap time deleted. So has K-Mag for exceeding track limits. Another fastest lap of the race from Charles Leclerc. He is really, really quick. And folks, this is indicating Ferrari have fantastic race pace. So for tomorrow, we should have a great battle between the McLarens and the Ferraris, especially on the strategy side of things. We may have not so much on-track action, but the strategy is going to be very interesting with the Ferraris having the edge over the McLarens in terms of race pace, because Norris at the front has clean air. So ideally Norris should be the one setting the fastest laps, but it's Sainz and Leclerc who don't have as much clean air that have been setting the fastest laps. So I don't think the McLarens are quick in quali and they can hold on to first and second, but their long-term race pace is looking a little lackluster. All right, so here we come. We come to the final corner, lap number 19 of 19, the final lap of the race. We have got Guan Yu Zhou coming out of the final corner to win the Qatar Grand Prix sprint race. What a drive from Guan Yu Zhou. No, I'm just kidding. Here comes Lando Norris. He got pole position yesterday after a sensational quali lap. He holds on to the leader going into turn number 1. It's a McLaren 1-2. Oh no, they switch positions. Right at the end, and Piastri takes the win. What? Piastri takes the win. This is payback for Brazil. Norris slows down. I don't know if they told him to do that, but Piastri wins the sprint. Norris slows down to 2nd place. Russell in 3rd, and McLaren are clapping. I don't know. Zach Brown's very happy. So was that orchestrated? Was that Lando Norris just being a good guy? What? Yeah, I had my whole speech prepared for Lando Norris winning this race, and then just as I look back to my screen, Norris slows down, Piastri takes the race win. What has happened there? I mean, it's fair enough. In Brazil, Piastri was requested to give up a sprint race win so Norris could get the points. Norris was about to win the sprint race. He slows down. I think that's fantastic. Yeah. Finally, a good way to end the race rather than controversy. McLaren gained 15 points in the constructors. Ferrari gained 6, so now the gap is up to 30 points. 30 points in 2 races now for Ferrari. That's going to be a bit difficult to do, but we'll wait and see what happens. All right. So that has been the end of the sprint race, folks. I'm going to end this stream. It'll take you over to the qualifying, so go ahead and hit the like button and the reminder button on the qualifying stream, and we'll see if the McLarens can get pole again. I think everyone else is going to modify their setup a little bit, and we may see the Mercedes up on pole position. At least George Russell. We'll see if Hamilton can find his groove and rhythm again. So thank you very much for tuning in. Have a wonderful morning, day, afternoon, evening, or night, depending on wherever you are, and I'll see you in a couple hours for qualifying. The qualifying itself will start in 3.5 hours, but the stream will start in 3 hours. So, yes. Is it 3 hours? Oh, wait, no. Wait, let me just recap. Yeah, it's probably YouTube will tell you. Just click on the link. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, see you in a bit, guys.